get into this first segment, which is talking all about Jeremy Schoen and Brian Daboll's jobs. So, I'm sure most of you guys know that towards the end of the season, this is usually where several coaches are getting fired. This is where several teams are trying to get new GMs. Like, the recently the Patriots, they fired their head coach literally the minute after the final game of their season. And it seemed like, that one was already going to happen. Like, that was a conversation that they must have had for a long time. But in a statement released a couple days ago, the Giants said that they intend on keeping Jeremy Schoen and they intend on keeping Brian Daboll. Now, I have no problem with Brian Daboll returning as the head coach. Anyone that can make Daniel Jones look like a future franchise quarterback is a good coach. I'm sorry to say this, but that is literally what this is. And for the most part, at least for the beginning of his season, it definitely looked like Daniel Jones could have done that, but we all know how that turned out. He is awful. He is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the history of starting quarterbacks, and he's only going to be remembered as being an absolute bust for the New York Giants. And the fact that Daboll made him actually look like a competent starter is something that I don't think any coach in the history of coaches would be able to do. It's that bad. So I have no problem with Daboll getting getting a longer period of time to coach as opposed to some other coaches who immediately get fired after 3 years. Because one of the worst things that you can have is not having a culture and being unable to create a culture in that locker room and create your own identity. That's been the problem that the Giants have had because they always, and as well as the Jets, because they keep hiring, they keep firing, they keep hiring, they keep firing. It's not good for your franchise, and it's not good to, it does not guarantee success at all. And I think having Brian Daboll as the coach, the team wasn't bad because of Brian Daboll. The team was bad because of terrible quarterbacks. That's simply put, the team was bad because of terrible quarterbacks. The defense was solid when it needed to be. The receivers were great, Malik specifically. The running back was also great, good for the most part. It's just when they needed a quarterback to win the game for them, they could not. It just never happened. I mean, you can't. Daniel Jones was awful. He was terrible, bad. I can go on a whole 12-minute segment just talking about how bad he was. But that's besides the point. The big problem that I have is Schoen. That's really the big problem that I have. And it's unfortunate because my big problem with him is that he chose Saquon. He chose to drop Saquon over Daniel Jones. And that was really the biggest issue that I had. He really thought that there was that whole episode is just haunting Giants fans for the entirety of their lives for a very long time. Because in that room, there were so many people, him included, that did not think that that teams weren't going to pay for a running back as good as Saquon Barkley. And I mean, thankfully, there was this one beautiful soul in that room that said, "Are we sure that no one is going to pay a running back all that money?" And then they were contradicting him, like, okay, well, who would do that? And then he said, well, anyone who really needs a difference maker, anyone who has money to spare, they would definitely spend it on Saquon Barkley. Like, he knew, and the irony of it all was that they did not want to regret their decision and be like, if he joins the Eagles, I don't think I'm going to sleep at night. And lo and behold, he joins the Eagles and just dominates the entire year. Meanwhile, we're stuck with a quarterback that can barely throw the ball farther than 20 yards down the field. It was embarrassing. It's been probably the biggest failure of Schoen as a GM, and the biggest failure by far. Aside from giving Daniel Jones that gigantic contract, letting Saquon walk was the biggest failure in my opinion. And it's sad, but it's like I wish there was a because on one end I know that I'm only saying that I want him gone because of that most recent decision. However, in the grand scheme of things, he has drafted a lot of talent for this team. We just can't use it because we have a terrible quarterback. So, I mean, Jalen Hyatt, he barely gets touched because Daniel Jones cannot throw the ball farther than 20 yards down the field, so he's effectively useless. And that, Jalen Hyatt is primarily a deep threat on a lot of these routes. He is so fast, but we can't use him because the quarterbacks can't hit and can't throw accurate enough down the field, 20 yards, 30 plus yards down the field. They can't do that. And not only that, on the defensive side, he's also been able to acquire a lot of talent. We know Dexter Lawrence is that guy. Xavier McKinney, before we let him walk as well and go to Green Bay. Just so many talented players. So he knows how to find talent. That's definitely that is a truth. And I feel like you sort of need that going into the future. But at the same time, picking Daniel Jones over Saquon is going to be the biggest mistake of his entire life. And I will say, however, that in my opinion, I think the media is over-exaggerating it just a little bit, because I don't think Saquon would have performed nearly as well as he did this season if he were on the Giants. I don't think he would have had a 2,000-yard rushing season, let alone maybe a 1,600-yard rushing season. I don't think that would have happened. Tyrone Tracy recorded 1,000 yards in the season, so it shows that letting Saquon walk it wasn't all bad of a decision. It's just worse of a decision because Daniel Jones stinks. So if he would have played, if he even looked like just a little bit of a competent quarterback, then the record that the Giants have this year would look so much more different. And I genuinely think that the only thing that the Giants need at this moment to look competent, just to look competent, is a quarterback. That's the only thing we need, and we are in prime position to get a quarterback. Either that, or we get Travis Hunter, which I don't have a problem with either, since the Giants are the third pick in the NFL draft. No problem with either or. But that's all that I have. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, whether you guys agree with the fact that he should, that either one of these guys should have a job, or maybe you disagree and you think they both should get fired. But now we're going to go into the second segment where I talk about Jimmy Butler and the trade rumors and a team that I think would work best for Jimmy Butler. So I'll be right back after this short break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody